Hi, guys. So I'm just checking in to see whether you can hear what's going on. I'm just hoping the audio is all good. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to see if anyone joins in. I only posted about the live yesterday, so I'm not sure how many of you even saw that post. Well, what we're doing today is we are going to work on some fabric. I'm going to work on some fabric. We're just going to cut some of these pieces down. We're just looking at cutting some of them down and getting ready to sew them into scrunchies. So that should be interesting. I'm just going to adjust the camera a tiny bit. There we go. That's much better. I'm just hoping you can hear me now. And when you come on, let me know where you're from. Say hello. Don't feel shy. All right. I thought I would take this opportunity to answer a couple of questions that I'd received. I promised a little bit of a Q&A when we hit 1,000 subscribers, and we did have a few questions coming. Let me just swap the fabric bolts around and we'll get straight to it. So the week that I posted about the Q&A and asked you for questions on Instagram as well as YouTube, one of the most popular ones were about my markets, how I find them, how I kind of evaluate or assess whether they're going to be a good market or not. So I thought I'd pretty much start with that one. Well, for me, I'm still learning what markets work well for me. Markets are a very dynamic sort of event. You can never truly say how good or slow they're going to be. But for me, in my experience, what works well is first you always, as far as possible, try and visit the market as a customer. Have a look at what it feels like. What are the kind of customers that are going there? Are they the kind of demographic you're looking for your business or not? Those are a few things that I look for. Another thing that you want to look for is the people visiting. Are they actually buying or is it just a lot of window shopping? This one's a little bit of a hard one to kind of nail down, but maybe speak to other vendors in that area or other vendors that have set up stall at that event. And that usually gives you a big idea of what that event is going to be like. Now, bear in mind that what works for one vendor and one business may not necessarily work for you. So that's another aspect where you never really know until you try. You can only do your due diligence, have a look at the social media presence of the event organizers, and see how engaged their following is. These are little things that help you understand whether or not that market is a good fit for you. Now, sorry. Apart from that, how do I go about finding markets? This one's a little bit of you have to do a little bit of online searching. Get ready to make Google your best friend. I Google the area that I want to maybe vend at and check and see if there are any weekend markets that pop up there. Another good place to search is also Facebook and Instagram, and those are ones I feel work best for me. And then you've kind of got to play around with it. If you find something on Google, Go onto Facebook, go onto Instagram, see if they've got a presence there, vice versa. That's how you end up getting information. You may find some business networking groups on Facebook. I haven't had much luck with any of that. But once you start doing markets, your neighbors are going to be a wealth of information. Be kind to them, be nice to them, network as far as possible. Of course, you don't want to be a bother, so make sure that you are limiting your interactions. You're not taking them away from their business when it's busy for them, or you're not neglecting your own customers when it's, when they're around shopping. So I found out about a lot of markets from talking to fellow stallholders that were set up next to me. And some of my best performing markets have been markets that I've come across like that. So that's one of the ways that I find out about markets in my area. Now, I know this is going to be a live, supposed to be a live where I'm doing some cutting, but I'm not sure how much of that is going to get done. I think I'm going to switch tasks a little bit. I've got a bunch of scrunchies. Oh, hello. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I've got to keep an eye on the comments as well. And every once in a while, you find some slightly undesirable comments coming through. So I'm trying to take care of that as well at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch over to some other scrunchy work so that I can have a chat with you guys while I'm working as well. I've got a whole bunch of scrunchy tubes all sewn up over here. Move this away. And like you'll see in the next video, I've actually started work on a whole new batch of scrunchies. If you've been around for a bit, you would have known that last year we did this massive scrunchie session where I whipped up a whole bunch, and that worked out really well for me because I had a little extra stock to take to markets and set up on the website and everything else. Hi, Diana. So glad you could join. Well, it's cold. It's a bit cold everywhere at the moment. It's pretty cold where we are as well. I'm in Sydney and we're freezing here as well. But I can imagine you guys have it a lot colder than we do. How have you been? So I was just doing a bit of a Q&A like I'd promised when we first hit those 1,000 subscribers. And initially, I thought I would cut up some fabric while I was doing it, but I realized that I get so chatty, I'm going to spend a lot of my attention talking and not enough on the cutting. So I switched activities. We, like you'll see in a video that'll follow soon, we're sewing up a massive bunch of scrunchies. And I thought that I could potentially work on flipping these tubes over. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Whereabouts in Sydney are they from? Are they closer to the city? Oh, yeah. I somehow find that the weather in the city is a lot more pleasant. We lived in the city for like 6 months, and That was when we first moved to Sydney. And I remember when we had family visit, they were so surprised that we were in like a sweatshirt and a pair of jeans with a t-shirt under, and we were good. And they came in to visit. They were all wrapped up and rugged up. They couldn't believe that we were coping with the weather so well. But I think it's got something to do with the proximity to the shore that somehow kept us from getting too cold. Yep. So what we're doing today is a little bit of a Q&A. I've got a few questions come in. And in the meanwhile, if you guys have any questions for me, you can leave a comment, let me know, and we can discuss those as well. So a lot of the questions revolved around how I find markets and how I assess and evaluate them. And if you've missed out on that segment, you can always watch the first part of the video once the live stream has ended. There were a couple of other questions that we had. I'm just going to check back on those. Someone wanted to know how do you store your scrunchies and do you use fabric deodorant on it? I just started my business this month. So, to sum it up, my scrunchies are stored in little plastic tubs, just like the ones I take to markets. And no, I don't use fabric deodorant. I didn't even know there was something like that. Maybe I'm missing out on something. I don't know. But I don't make too much ahead of time. I stitch up my products in batches. That way, they're not sitting around for ages together. Most of my stock that I make up gets taken to the markets, and a little bit of it is left on for the website. And I've never really had a problem or ever needed to use a fabric deodorant per se. So I hope that answers your question about how I store my scrunchies. I've got a little cabinet in the spare bedroom that I work out of, and some of my product, at least the stuff that goes towards the website, goes in those uh, cabinets and drawers over there. So, do any of you guys do markets, and what are your favorite markets to vend at or even attend? Oh, 100%, Dana. I find that my finish is so much better with the burrito method. I tried the tube method for the bigger sizes of scrunchies, and somehow that little joint across the center just does not work for me. It's probably just me. I can just never get it to look as neat and tidy as I can when I use the burrito method. I somehow find this probably works a little faster in the long run. I don't know. I've tried it out. I've tried both methods out. In fact, there was a point when I thought that the skinny scrunchies, I would only do the tube method. And then I whipped up a few. I really didn't care for how they looked. So even though these are fiddly, these are really fiddly because of how narrow the strip of fabric is. I still prefer using that little extra time and using the burrito method because, at least personally for me, I get a much better result. It looks nicer, I feel. But that's just my personal opinion. I know the tube method seems faster and probably is faster as well because you're just stitching in a straight line uninterrupted. But it really isn't, it's not for me. Do you use the tube method or the burrito method? Oh, trust me, it just looks a lot more complicated than it actually is. I can literally, I can't do it with my eyes closed, but it doesn't really take too much of thinking. I just need to pay attention to what I'm doing. Once you get the hang of it, there's nothing simpler. may take a tiny bit of getting used to initially. But yes, you can't compare the end result of one method to the other. I have shared a little tutorial on how I whip up my scrunchies using the burrito method. If that helps, if you want to check that out. Okay. I'll move on to the next question. Someone says, Esmeralda, I hope I'm getting that right, says, "Hi, I'm new to your channel. Started watching your channel about 3 weeks ago. Love your content. Since I just started my business about 2 months ago, I started making jewelry and keychains, but now I incorporated scrunchies and headbands. I would like to know how you started your business and how long did it take for you to get good sales? What advice can you give us as beginners in making hair accessories?" Let me know if you get stuck. I mean, it's a pretty simple process. It may take a couple of goes, but if there's any way I can help, just feel free to reach out. Well, to sum up how I started my business, I think when I first started out with headbands actually. Yeah, I first started out with the wire headbands. I was fascinated with those. And a little backstory, some of my customers that come to markets know this. I keep telling them this. I have a slightly larger head than normal. How I know this is when I go to buy a hat or any sort of thing that needs to go on your head. Sometimes even hoodies and t-shirts I have trouble with. I just can't find one that fits in terms of a hat. So as you can imagine, the pre-made headbands really don't work well for me. So when I came across the wire headband, I think I remember see when I first came across it. It was on a website in the US or potentially Canada, somewhere in the States, and it was a big company doing it. Can't really remember which one. This was a few years ago now. And when I saw it, I was fascinated and I said, yes, this is something that could work and could potentially fit me. So I decided to give it a try and loved how it turned out. A few friends that saw it also thought it was really cool. That's how I ended up starting my own business. It was about the time I was working retail at the time. Little bit of a backstory. I don't come from typically from a retail background. I come from a corporate training background. And when we moved to Sydney, Australia, this was 11 years ago, maybe 12 years ago now. Um, it was really hard to find a job, really hard to get an interview, even with a company, because I didn't have local experience. And I don't know whether it was me, whether I didn't do something right, but yeah, that the initial few months were something else altogether. So, what I did before that, don't know if I mentioned it, I used to be in corporate training. In fact, I managed a team of trainers, did that for about 8 to 10 years. And when I came here, forget getting a management position in training, I couldn't even land a trainer position. So, anyway, that was that. I did the next best thing, moved on to a retail job, which I got pretty easily, thankfully, and did what I had to do to pay the bills. Eventually, I kind of decided that I'd had about enough and I wanted to do something a little different. I've always been someone that's dabbled in crafts. So, in a different lifetime, I used to, I had a little business. This is not my first small business. I had a small business where I did cakes. We did celebration cakes, we did bridal cakes, wedding cakes, and all of that. This was back when I was in India and was a lot of fun. I also did wedding flowers side by side, floral arrangements. Now, back in India, at least back in the day, handmade flowers were all the rage. because of the weather, availability of fresh flowers, the ability of flowers to last through those really hot days, and so on and so forth. So, fabric flowers were really popular then. And I used to do a little bit of both: bridal flowers, so bridal bouquets, um, church pew decorations, car decorations, all of that. And sometimes I really miss it. So we used satin fabric for a lot of our flowers. If you want me to do share a few tutorials with you on how to make flowers, let me know. It'll be real fun to dabble in it just a little bit. I wonder if I remember a lot of my stuff. But yeah, I got all the tools of my trade. I just haven't had an opportunity or an occasion to make flowers for. It's a lot of fun. I learned how to make paper flowers as well. Paper flowers have grown immensely popular now overseas, but fabric flowers still are not as popular. People opt for fresh over fabric a lot of the times. But yeah, so I can actually do a video on a few at least simpler arrangements. I have some pictures that I can share, not today, but maybe during the course of our next live stream. I'll keep some handy. What else did I do? So I've always dabbled in a few things here and there, and once I realized that retail, while I grew quite rapidly within the retail segment as well, there were challenges that kept me from moving to the next level, and that's something I found really strange. In my experience, when they find out that you're a good worker, a quick worker, a hard worker, they hesitate to promote you to the next level because they have to get the job done. Someone's got to get the job done. And I found that that was what was holding me back. So I had rave reviews from managers and all of that, but getting promoted, that was a different story altogether. And so I decided to fall back on something that I knew and I knew I enjoyed, which was trying to give it a hot go at starting my own business. And that's how Golden Wattle Designs came into being. How long did it take me to? Yes, they are. They're really colorful. Traditional Indian weddings, full of color. The Christian weddings, however, tend to be a little more subdued than that, though they can get pretty wild as well. Not as much color because you have your typical white gown. Sometimes the colors are a lot more muted. So, like you can imagine, the flowers were like a massive pop of color. Those were good days. I missed that. Um, but yeah, I think I'll definitely do a video on making a few flowers, making a little arrangement or something. I'm excited now. Okay. How long did it take for the business to take off? Honestly, I am still waiting. Online, it was all right on Etsy. It did not pick up straight away. But as you can imagine, eventually I introduced scrunchies into my range of products. And scrunchies tend to be a very saturated market. So I didn't get too much of traction with the scrunchies, but the headbands did pretty decently. And I decided to set up my own website. The website's been a little slow, I have to admit it, but you can imagine why that is. The economy. Hi, Josephine, Germany. Wow, good morning. What time is it there? I've always wanted to visit Germany. Yes, so like I was saying, because of how everything has sort of how everything is progressing with the economy, it's a bit slow, but I'm not giving up. The markets are a saving grace right now because that is sort of what's keeping the business going. And it's fun. I love meeting my customers. It's 10:28. Hi, Tracy. Thanks for stopping in. Fantastic. I will reach out. In fact, we're thinking of doing like, not immediately, but we want to do a little bit of a road trip around Europe, possibly. It will just take a while to have that happen, but Germany's been, I've seen some beautiful pictures of little towns around Germany, and I'm fascinated. Another thing that I want to see are the Christmas markets there. I hear they're really, really good. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, so markets right now is what's kind of keeping me afloat. Does the business still pay or currently pay all of my bills? No, it doesn't. But I am determined to make it work. And I've got a few new products in the pipeline. I can't complain. I love my customers. I love doing markets. Done. Hamburg is definitely on my list then. I love doing markets. I love meeting customers in person. And I think I'm going to continue that. I did a fair few last year. This year, I've learned to be a little more picky and choosy with markets because not every market is created equal. You eventually learn what works well for you. It is. It just, I don't know when it will be though. I will post on Instagram, and I would love it if you could give me tips on fabric shopping there. Yes, something that I'm really fascinated with doing is visiting fabric shops whenever I travel. I know it might seem a little lame to some people, but I love it. I have way too much fabric, then I know what to do with. And just between you and me, no one knows this. I have placed another order for about 72 to 75 meters of fabric. So that should be interesting. That should get here in a couple of weeks. It's coming from overseas. So I am excited to show you that when that gets here. Yep. So with markets, pick and choose the market. Give them a go. I mean, you will never know whether a market's going to work for you till you've tried it out. And there are some that always work well for me. Of course, they'll have slower days too, but there are some that I find are just not curated well enough or even advertised well enough. I went to this one market recently. I'm not going to name it because, I mean, I'd like to keep negativity out of this, but I also want to be real with you at the same time. Oh, wow. That is really cool. This bag is something that I had to purchase. I had gone on a fabric shopping trip to fabric buying spree at Spotlight. I had a couple of bags with me, but I could not. There were a few deals. This was a couple of years ago, and I was so happy when I found one that was massive. It can hold a lot. It currently houses all of my work in progress when I'm batch sewing stuff, unless I need to take it along if I'm going fabric shopping. But yeah, I don't go all that crazy all too often. I reckon the smaller bags from Spotlight are more manageable. It also is lighter to tote around when they're stuffed full of fabric. So Good morning, Susan. South Africa. Welcome, welcome. Oh, fantastic. That is great to hear. Do you make scrunchies as well? Or what sort of products do you guys make? How about you, Diana? What kind of stuff do you make? Oh, fabulous. That is fantastic. Sweet. What's your business called? Well, probably if you're on Instagram or Facebook, I can follow you as well. You are very talented. I guess we have time to work in another question. Oh, great. Scrunchies, headbands, bows, key fobs. Yeah, that's a solid variety to offer. I I feel that with that kind of range, you have a little something for everyone that stops by. I do. It's Golden Bottle Designs on Facebook as well. I'm not super active on it. However, all of the stories all of the reels from Instagram get posted on Facebook as well. So you can follow me there as well. I probably should try getting a little more active on Facebook. I do share events, especially the one-off markets that I don't do regularly. I share those actively across both platforms. Yeah, that's the idea behind it. I'm actually dabbling in a few accessories for younger children as well, because so often I'll have mums coming in to have a look at scrunchies or headbands and wonder if I have anything for little ones. And currently, apart from the mini scrunchies that I have a few of, if you've seen my market setup, I have a few. But apart from that, I don't really have anything for younger kids. So I'm thinking about what I can do about that. And another demographic I feel so bad for are young boys. They come in with parents and with sisters, and literally there is nothing that I have to offer. So I was thinking maybe, I don't know, during summer I could do bucket hats possibly with some cute boy prints. I make all these great plans of things to do, and I overwhelm myself to such an extent that I never really have the time to actually make it and take it to market. There's like about three products that I've been wanting to do since last year, and I haven't yet gotten around to doing it. Hopefully, I will finish working on the prototype for one of them next month and have that ready to roll. We're in July, yes, so in August, and maybe then one in September. Yeah, and I feel so bad because I mean there's so many instances where they come in and they actually help their sisters pick out scrunchies. It's really cute. And then I have nothing for them. So that would be a little bit of a fun thing to do. I'm thinking maybe a little wallets for boys, but that idea just sort of popped into my head right this minute. I'm not sure how much work will go into it. So maybe bucket hats and little pouches. I'm not sure. Wallets rather, not pouches. Just checking. I know that there were a few more questions that came in. Okay, headbands. Diana says headbands. I am in love with them. How long did it take you to get them right before you started selling them? What was the most difficult part of the process of making them for the first time? And what's your bestseller product? How long did it take you to run your business full time? Good questions, all solid questions. Wait, I'm quite absent minded. So let's have a look at that again. Processes. When I think up a new product that I want to offer, I always do a whole bunch of testing. So I'll whip up a few different sizes. I usually have, I try and use scrap fabric or fabric that I got on clearance, so slightly cheaper fabric, or fabric that I know is not doing too well. It does happen. I mean, not every color, not every type of fabric will be equally popular. So I use those kind of fabrics and I whip up my prototype, whip up a few sizes, at least with the headbands. That's what I did. And ultimately, it's really up to the make and feel. Do you like the way it's turned out? Do you need to have it larger, smaller? And how long that takes me? Sometimes it could take me ages to get the willpower down to sit and start it. But usually, once I start working on a product, in a few hours, I know what I'm happy with. What tips I have? One one of my strongest recommendations is write down your measurements when you're testing products and write down the name of what you're testing and what the measurements are for. Like recently, when I started making hair bows, I tested out so many different styles. I wrote down the measurements for a lot of them and did not write what style of bow it was. So when I was going to restock my bows, I was literally pulling my hair out because some of them had nothing telling me what the measurements were for. Some of them were easy to figure out. So now I've decided everything's going to get named, labeled, measured, and documented. And the videos also help. So if I'm ever stuck and I have included something in a video, I know that I can look back and sort of figure it out. Oh my gosh, all the time. A lot of people tell me that oh my at my market stall I've got so many different options and so many variants. Some people find it hard to choose. Some people love the variety, but I eventually always end up getting customers that will want something that I don't have, a color I don't have, a print I don't have, a style I don't have. And it amazes me how almost always people want the one thing that you don't have on a given day. And honestly, if I could take more stuff to markets, I would. But I already feel like I'm taking so much, and it does take me a fair bit of time to set up, only because we've got so many different types of products. When I say so many, it's basically two types of headbands and scrunchies. But then with the scrunchies, I set up my swim ones separately. The different sizes go up separately. So it does take a fair bit of time. Thankfully, I have my husband that joins me at the markets. So he does a lot of the heavy lifting, as in setting up the frames, the displays, and such. We tag team now. He's slowly learning how to set up the headbands as well. So that will give me a little more time. But yeah, I possibly cannot take any more product to markets. In fact, I'm trying to think of what I can do to kind of cut down on the amount of stuff that I'm taking as well. At least fabric options, for example, I know that the wire headbands, they're really popular at some markets, but I don't sell enough of them to warrant taking those many styles to markets. So what I'm thinking is I'll have most of the prints and colors on the website. That's something that I'm struggling with at the moment, listing everything on there. But please excuse all the bits of thread. I'm always covered in thread. So yeah, so I'm thinking of cutting down on the number of prints that I take along to markets, having most of them listed on the website. That way, if someone wants to know or someone wants something more than what we have to offer at the markets, I'd be able to direct them to the website and sort of have that taken care of. Thank you so much for joining, Josephine. No problem. We will touch base soon. And yes, my husband built the big scrunchy board that we have out the front. The small one that I have, my regular satin scrunchies, that one was from Kmart. Uh, the little donut stand on which I put my swim scrunchies, that one's also from Kmart. The little spinner display, the new one that we've recently added, that one's homemade as well. The display that I have, the wire headbands on, the white display, the little shelving thing that I have going, that one is also a piece that my husband's built. I know some of you wanted to see the new spinner a little closer, a little close up of that spinner. What I'll do is when I'm filming the next video, I'll it's right now in storage. I don't have a market this weekend, so it's set away, and I will bring that up. I will show you how it's put together. It's really really nifty. I mean, I saw a video on TikTok where someone had that. I saw them setting it up. Unfortunately, I did not save that video, or I would have credited the creator, but I kind of had an idea, explained what I wanted to my husband. Fortunately for me, he's really handy, or at least he gives it a red hot go, and I'm always thankful for that. It's not 100% professional grade, but it does the job. And once the products are on it, you can hardly tell what's wrong. So, yeah, I will do a little bit of a close up and show you how it was put together. It came together really, really easily. Yes, school colors. I have found that at certain markets, certain colors do really well, and they tend to pick up a lot of a certain color at in different areas for school. That's a great idea. For me, I maintain all my market notes on my phone and then kind of transfer it to a notebook when I come back home, because I know that if I have to run around searching for my notebook at a market, I will probably lose track of where I've left a pen, lose track of the notebook, and lose track of everything else in between. So, in order to minimize all that confusion, usually when there's a request, I will make a note of it on the phone itself. But yeah, a notebook works really well as I'm not as organized as you, Susan. I'm a bit of a scatterbrain when it comes to markets. Bye, Josephine. See ya. Diana, that's a healthy curiosity. That's not being nosy, but yes, I will show you that display in the next video. So I've only got I've got the next video already started, probably one video from now. So maybe a couple of weeks from now, I will record a little more detailed version of that display setup. Do I take card at markets? Is it easy to set up and use? I have a Square reader, and honestly, it's the easiest thing once you've set it up. You I don't have a catalog on this. So there's different ways you can set up your Square Reader. What I'll do is at the end of the video, I will leave a link. You get a referral link as well. And let's say, if you use my referral link to kind of sign up with Square, you get a certain number of transactions where you're not charged a fee, and so do I. I can't really remember what that quantity is, but I will leave a link to, I'll leave that referral link at the end in this video. I should start doing that for my other videos as well. So there's different ways you can set it up. I know that you can add your entire catalog of products to Square and kind of do like a checkout from there. Personally, I don't have the time for that, simply because there's so many different prints that I take along and I have on the website. It would take me way too long to do that, and I don't have the time for that. So if you're doing things like I am, it's just a matter of figuring out how much you need to charge your customer once you've got the app set up, that is. Uh, so let's say someone needs to pay me $20. I just go to the checkout screen of the app, key in $20, hit enter, or I can't really remember what that button is. I can check for you. So I'm going to try and show you. I'm not sure how much you'll be able to see. So that's the checkout screen. It just looks like a calculator of sorts. All you're doing there is entering the amount and you hit review sale. Then it'll ask you to confirm, I believe. Yeah. So it takes you to the next screen where it gives you the option to add discounts and such, or add a customer. I don't do any of that. I just key in the amount. And then the next screen comes up with an option that says charge and whatever amount you keyed in. You hit that, and that activates your reader, the little square device. And that's pretty much as simple as it is. The customer taps, they can use mobile pay, they can use Apple Pay, they can use their cards. You can even, I only have a little square reader, and customers can even insert their cards in there. And that's pretty much it. That's as simple as it is. You also have the option to send a receipt to your customer. Once their payment goes through, Square itself will give you that option. You can either text or email the receipt to them from that particular screen itself. It's really handy. And for me, most of my transactions are usually card transactions. Some markets, close to 95% are card transactions. So if I didn't have a Square reader, I'd be losing out on a lot of sales. You're welcome. I still find that, at least in the last few months, I've found cash transactions picking up again. But again, it's a very area specific nuance, I feel. So when I trade closer to Sydney City, there's a lot of card transactions. Certain suburbs tend to be heavier on cash transactions. So it's good to have both options available, I think, if you can. I was recently at a market where vendor, it was his first time at the market, and he didn't have the facility to take card payments. So he did offer people the option of using a bank transfer. But you can see how that gets a little more complicated and very time consuming, especially if it's a busy day at the market. And as a customer, they'll probably look at other options where it's easier to spend their money than go through the hassle. So it's always worthwhile having a look. And for me, I find that Square has very reasonable fees. There's no monthly fee. It's just a percentage of the transactions. And like I said, if you use that referral link, which I will leave, it does give you, I think, the first a certain number of transactions fee free. So that's a little bit of saving money in your pocket. So, what's everyone having for dinner today? I'm starting to get a little peckish, which is why I thought about dinner. I still haven't decided what we're doing for dinner. Actually, that's a lie. I thought I'd whip up some tacos. I have taco shells. I have eggplant. I'm going to attempt to whip up some eggplant tacos tonight. Oh, you're welcome, Diana. Happy to help. I'm glad I decided to work on the scrunchies and not the cutting of the fabric. I don't think I would have cut anything during the process of this video. Oh, yum. Fish and chips, always a good option. I'm actually considering doing a little meal prep. I don't know when, but I'm thinking of setting a couple of hours aside one day of the week or a couple of days during the week to do a little bit of meal prep because I know how hard it was last Christmas season. When I say Christmas season, it starts right from September because you've got to start prepping your product and all of that, and time just gets away from me. So I'm thinking this year I'll be a tiny bit more prepared and actually whip up multiple batches of the meal and maybe have them in the freezer. That way I know even on market day I can come back to something. I mean, I enjoy eating out as much as the next guy, but can't always be eating out. So what are you having for lunch then? It is it is almost 7 in the evening here. So I guess that's why I'm already starting to get a bit peckish. Susan, do you do markets locally in South Africa? So what sort of scrunchies do you guys find is most popular? Leave me a comment, let me know. Coming back to that other question, what's my best selling product? That for me changes from time to time. I've now included a little section when I do market blogs that talks about bestsellers for the day. In terms of quantities, for me, scrunchies sell more than the headbands in terms of number of items sold. Type of scrunchies, however, depends. There are some markets where, or some days rather, where the satin scrunchies go absolutely bananas. There are some days where the prints and the more novelty, the cottons and the rayons, and those ones sell better. Nice. So, do you guys have like street fairs? I'm always very interested to see how things go. I have, there's a few small businesses that I watch on YouTube, and I'm always amazed at the kind of setups that everyone has in the US when they do these big street fairs and festivals and things like that. For us, at least here in Sydney, We do have big street fairs, like one that I was part of last year. Never doing that one again. I barely made my stall fee with that one. So, lesson learned. For me, I find that the smaller markets are ones that I tend to do better at. Again, you have to be picky and choosy. Do you do like music festivals and such? I've always wanted to do one of those. I just haven't done any research on it yet. Yeah, it does. But yes, the regular size is very popular. What I found is that I'm selling a few more of the mini scrunchies also after getting that little spinner display. People can see those scrunchies much better now. Earlier, I used to just have it in a little container, sorry, a container or a basket sitting on the table, and you had to rummage through to find what you like. But now, with that spinner display, everything's propped up. So I have found that the mini scrunchies have, and even the skinnies have picked up in volume since I've introduced that display. And since putting that big display together, that has helped my scrunchie sales a lot. I now need to figure out a nice way to display my extra large scrunchies, and I honestly cannot consider doing another pegboard. But that's all right because I mean, at the moment, extra large scrunchies are not one of my biggest sellers. I do sell a few of them at some markets more than others. And I have customers that kind of will come back to see me. I'm very fortunate like that. I'm not doing another pegboard. I know that for a fact. My husband's already talking about revamping the one that we have, the big one. He's got a few ideas now. So that will be happening, I think, maybe before Christmas. I'm not sure. I'm not in a rush because I know it is a lot of work, and this one works for now, but I will look at kind of giving it a little bit of a makeover soon. I actually do have a third pegboard. It's not like a pegboard of sorts, it's those IKEA boards. I used them at my latest market for the bow clips, and it worked really well. It looked pretty, at least I thought it did. Sad part was I did not have enough bows to put on there. I'd share a picture on Instagram. Since you're not on Instagram, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, yes, I do have three at the moment, but this one's a small one. It's one of these, I'm not sure if you can see anything, I'm sorry. It's one of these white boards, and I had the bows just displayed on it. And it worked really well. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to devote any more space to um, scrunchies than I already have. That's always the challenge, right? Tweaking your display so that everything is primed and most visible to customers. And then the next challenge is what do you put at the forefront to draw people in and what takes a back seat? Is that the one I showed in my last video? I'm not sure if I did. Was it the white one with the bows? I don't think. Let's have a look. I don't believe I've taken that one. I've taken that one to just one market. That was this weekend. I haven't put that up on YouTube. Put up the video. I haven't yet put up that video on YouTube yet. But I used to have this in the room that I sit and sew in, and it used to house all of my little bits and pieces, my pins and my bits and bobs that I need at the sewing machine. So I've just whacked it out of there. I said I might as well check and see if it works. If it works, I can consider getting another one from IKEA. And it worked well. I'll probably have to get another one so that I can just spread out that display because I need to put together a few more boards as well. All of the more popular colors have sold out, and I haven't had a chance to kind of restock the satin ones and the long-tailed lacy ones. So that's something again that I need to sit and stock up on. The only thing with this IKEA board is that the bows. I need to put the bows up on backing cards, and I did order some backing cards from Vistaprint, so I actually went ahead and did that, and I found that the bows actually looked a lot nicer. That macrame holder is fantastic if you've got a little bit of a background, a plain sort of background. So if you've got a wall up and that macrame holder is against that wall, then the bows sort of stand out. But I had it just at the front of my stall, and the bows got lost, completely lost. People could still see it, but they didn't pop as much as I would have liked them to. But now, on those little white backing boards and on that white pegboard, it looks a lot nicer. I'm still on the lookout for some nice baskets for my clips. Haven't been able to find a good one. I've looked at all the usual spots. I don't want to spend too much money on them also. So I've looked at Kmart, Spotlight. Spotlight tends to have some nice things once in a while. Sadly, my Spotlight is very unorganized. Don't even get me started. I see so many videos on Instagram and TikTok of people walking through their Spotlight, local Spotlight stores, and everything is so neat and organized and color coordinated and tidy. And then I walk into mine. I had a bit of a rant in one of my recent videos, so I'm not going to get started again. But it is messy. It's messy in there, and somehow they have shelves that are not always full. A while back, I know they used to have multiple bolts of each print. Probably was easier for them to kind of bring out, but that meant they didn't have as much of a variety. And this was supposed to be one of the bigger. I was told it. My local Spotlight was one of the biggest stores, at least in suburban Sydney, which I fail to believe because the way it is run, they have grades apparently, and this was a top tier store, followed by some of the others that I go to. And the smaller stores that I go to seem to have a better variety of product. When clearances happen, they've got their job done, so you actually get access to a lot more clearance fabrics in those other stores. Hello. I am in my kitchen. That is my fridge. We have a little bit of an open plan. I was supposed to cut. I find this height, the height of my kitchen, counted perfect to cut fabric. And no, my fridge is not in my craft room. We live in an apartment, so we don't have too much space. But I'm fortunate to have a whole room to kind of house all of my things at the moment. That is currently in the process of getting reorganized again. I've just put up a lot of fabric that I recently picked up. So the fabric's gone in. There's a few things I need to destash from like ages ago. when I used to dabble in scrapbooking and such. I don't scrapbook anymore. I don't have the time for it. So I'm thinking instead of having all my scrapbooking supplies just sitting there, I'd probably go onto a destash group or something and destash the lot of it and regain some of that space. But yes, I am in my kitchen, much to my husband's dismay. Yeah. Space is always a challenge. My husband always tells me no matter how much space you have, it's never going to be enough. And I sort of agree because every time I can find a little more space, I find something to put there. But that is life. Have any of you guys tried purchasing fabric online from Spotlight? Or are there any other websites rather that you purchase your fabric from? Because I'm on the lookout for other options. Spotlight's great to have because it's right here. Lincraft used to be great back in the day. My local Lincraft shut down. There is one a couple of suburbs over from me, but that one, I don't know whether it is that particular outlet, but I find that the quality of the fabric at Lincraft has gone down and is so terrible. I don't know. It's probably just me. He is. He's one of the guys that kind of come across as very, he comes across as a man of very few words, but he can be really funny when he wants to. He hates being on camera. I have to give him a heads up and remind him to smile because he's being filmed. He hates it, but he obliges. So I'm thinking I'll do a little short form video of him packing an order or something one day. I don't know if he'll agree. I'll never hear the end of it, but it should be fun. I'm the same. I love having the option to feel the fabric because you just don't know how it'll end up feeling as a headband or a scrunchie or even garments. Do any of you stitch clothes? Sew your own clothes, or at least a few of them? I remember purchasing fabric from Spotlight online just once. It was the velvet fabric. I've purchased from them before, and they were having a really good sale on it, and I could not get to Spotlight on that particular day. That's the only time that I really purchased from them because I knew what the fabric was like. And another time, they did not have the colors that I wanted out on display, and you can't get the guys that work at my Spotlight to check on anything for you. The standard answer is if it's not on display, it's not there. But then you go online and you can actually do a click and collect for all of the colors that are also supposedly not there. So I ended up doing a click and collect once. But yeah, for newer fabrics, I like the look. I like to be able to feel them. Yep, it's that look, one look. Awesome. So you actually stitch dresses. That is brilliant. I've made a few pieces. I made a few pieces back when I was in school as part of our version of what is home ec and things like that. So we once made a really nice pleated skirt. We did a lot of other home decor ish projects like napkins, cushion covers, um, so a lot of embroidery, cross stitch, things like that. But in terms of garments. We did a baby dress, a very simple baby dress, and I still remember that pleated skirt that we made in school. So I did a few back then. I also did a short sewing course when I was before I moved to Australia when I was back in India, and that was a few days I think, where I was introduced at how patterns work. But you really can't learn much in a couple of sittings. But I did end up stitching a couple of tops for myself. I enjoyed the process thoroughly. I've not done that in ages, and I'm itching to try my hand at it again. I did a few skirts for my friend's daughter once, but it was typically those tutu sort of skirts with that uses a lot of tulle. It's a no sew one, so I don't even know if it counts. It's like those costume sort of ones, and this is like about a good 10, 12 years ago, ages ago. Well, I'm in my 40s. Husband is late 40s. I'm not going to disclose my exact age, but that should give you a good idea. So I'm mid 40s, he is late 40s. Can I ask, do you use patterns for those the easy dresses that you're talking about? What's your go-to company for patterns? I've I started looking at a few patterns online, dress patterns and skirt patterns, but I got so overwhelmed. I went to the typical Vogue, McCall's, the stuff that Spotlight has stocked, and there's so much there. I don't know where to start looking. Oh, well, not by March. Mentally, I'm a lot older. I was an old soul even when I was in school. Oh, wow, brilliant. You're very creative. I don't think I'd be able to do one just winging it. I did make a top from just kind of imitating one that I already have. It was all right. It was not great, but it was just the first one I'd ever done. So, but I'm itching to give sewing a go. When I say sewing, like sewing clothes, I want to try and whip up a couple of skirts for summer because summer markets are sizzling hot. And I can never find dresses in shops that actually are flattering on me. They look great on the shelves, on the mannequins, and all of that. But once I wear them, I'm never happy with the way they look. Formal clothes, I've managed to find a few places where I can get them from, but I don't know. Casual dresses just, I find it very hard. And when I go shopping, it always feels that it feels like clothes are either too young for me or too old for me. So I just can't seem to find my stride. Oh my God. Seriously? I don't know what they're going to do next, really. I was once talking to a small business owner from the US, and I think at one time, if I'm not mistaken, they used to get their pickups done like their postal service would pick up parcels. I don't think they used to get charged. I'm not sure if that has changed now. But if we need to get a pickup done for orders and all of that, it costs so much to get that done with Australia Post. Almost makes it not worthwhile for me. Oh, that's a shame. The one down my street is still there. At least I hope it is. Because sometimes if I'm in a pinch, I even drop off my parcels there, and it always seems to kind of find its way just fine. I'm actually going to start looking at options and seeing if there are other vendors that can give me better rates. I just have to wait for the volumes to pick up a little for online orders and such. I know that DHL offers like more competitive rates, not the courier service, but they also have like a regular postal parcel post kind of service where they offer competitive rates, but you need massive volumes for those, which I don't have at the moment. So for now, it's going to be Australia Post for me, but as soon as I can, I am going to look at other options. I know I can use Sendil, but I've heard so many mixed reviews about Sendil. I don't think it's worth the headache for me. So we'll all have to keep our fingers crossed that Australia Post gets their business together. But I must say this last Christmas season, at least I found that they did a pretty good job with deliveries right up to the time that it was maybe the 20th of December. Parcels were getting delivered in a few days. And I was very impressed because I know in the past they've had a lot of time keeping up with increase in deliveries after what do you call that, Black Friday sales and such. I know Black Friday is not massive here in Australia, but when I was in retail, our volumes went up phenomenally at that time. And those were the times where customers would complain they were not getting their things. But last year, even around that time, Black Friday and Boxing Day, these guys, Australia Post did a really good job. Even international parcels were getting delivered really well. So I'm just hoping that it was not just a fluke and that continues this year as well. I have a Shopify website, so it's goldenbottledesigns.com. I started off on Etsy. I decided to kind of post a little more sparsely on Etsy because Etsy fees just don't justify it anymore. And it's been very slow there over the last couple of months. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep up Etsy, but I do have a Shopify website. Etsy is good if you don't have, um, if you're not diverting your own traffic to, or you don't have the capacity, or right now you're not. So I'll tell you how it works for me. When I first started out, I didn't have a customer base, I didn't have a social media following to kind of divert to my own website. With Etsy, what worked well is that the customers are already there. At one time, it used to be strongly focused on handmade stuff. So that was a good thing. But now there's so much of, sad to say, junk on Etsy. So it was a minimal investment and you did get orders come through pretty often. In fact, the first few months I've had more sales on Etsy compared to the last few months when I let me put it this way, when I first started off on Etsy, I had a lot more sales than I have had in the last couple of months. So Etsy is quite simple like that. With the website, if you can direct your own traffic, your own customers there, nothing like it. You end up saving a bunch on fees. There is a monthly fee on Shopify or with websites. So as long as you've got enough sales to kind of cover those costs, you obviously factor that into your products. then a website is worth it 100%, because places like Etsy and eBay, they also charge you a fee on your shipping. Strange, ridiculous, but that's what they do. So if, for example, I'm not 100% sure about the figures, but if you're paying a 3.5% on a $10 item, you're paying a 3.5% on the $10 item, plus you're paying that percentage on the $10 or whatever that you would spend on postage, which is crazy because none of us are making money on postage. So, yeah, Etsy is really hard to kind of get going at this point. Hi, Divya. Yes, it is chilly in Sydney. I agree. Welcome, welcome to the live. Yeah, eBay started doing that first. So they call it it's called a final value fee on eBay, and I think it's called a transaction fee on Etsy. I'm not very good with terminology. So you pay a listing fee, which is 20 cents US cents. And obviously, since we're not in the US, I think it is 20 cents plus another fixed amount plus 5 cents or something like that, or 10 cents for each listing. And that listing lasts you for like 4 months. And then there's the the fee or the commission that you pay Etsy when something sells. Now, this transaction fee actually includes the price of your product and the cost of shipping as well. Earlier, it was just the price of product; it didn't include shipping. But then eBay made that switch to include shipping as well, because sellers on eBay were doing dodgy stuff. They were listing items for like a fraction of the value, for like $2, and then bumping the postage costs to $20 and such, just so that their items appeared cheaper and they'd get, it was like clickbait for customers. And I think eBay kind of found that out, and they decided they were going to charge a percentage on the shipping as well. And for years, Etsy did not do that, but they're doing that as well now. So thank you. In the start of the video, I've actually gone into a little detail about how I find my markets and things like that. So if you've missed that, just once the stream is over, just go on. The first part of the video covers all I know about finding local markets and sort of assessing and evaluating whether or not it will be a good fit for your business. At the end of the day, all I can say is that every business is different. What works well for me might not work well for another person. So you sort of gain, once you have a little experience with markets, you get a fair idea. What I can tell you about Shopify is that it's easy to set up. It's very user friendly. Only thing that you have to watch out for are those monthly fees. Depending on the price plan that you pick, there is a monthly fee that you're charged. And if you can direct traffic there, great. There is nothing better. You will save a whole bunch. If you've got a lot of volume, you'll save a lot of money on your own website rather than on, Etsy or an eBay. With setup videos, do you guys want to see more of those? Because I mean, I do tweak my setups a little bit. The displays sort of change, but I don't want it to get too repetitive. And I don't know whether you'd find it boring watching me do the same tasks every few weeks. So I I tried something a little different, like a time lapse this time. I'm thinking of doing a slightly chatty setup video, but I'm waiting for a microphone, a little clip-on microphone to come in. Um, let's see how that goes. A lot of times, markets have music playing in the background, and if there's a lot of music, I can't then chat as I'm doing going through my setup, because then I can't post those videos on YouTube. I'll get flagged for copyright claims, and I don't want that. So that's why I do a little bit of a voiceover a lot of the times, or I'll step aside and do a little bit of an intro and such. But if you guys, what kind of stuff do you ship out, Divya? Because I mean, once you figure out shipping, it actually gets. He is quite entertaining. I'm going to tell him that. Okay, then I guess I will keep filming those videos. I'll show you the setup in the next market vlog, which will be not this weekend, the following weekend. I will show you the setup of the new board as well, the one that I put the bows on. So that'll be something a little new. Yeah, he's a funny guy, but yeah, I'm really lucky. So I will not complain. All right. And just like that, I've actually sat and flipped a whole bunch of scrunchy tubes, or rather, yeah, I'll call them tubes because I don't know what else to call them, while we were having a good chat. It was really fun. I'm thinking, I know there's not been too many people on this particular live, but I want to say thank you to every single one of you that have joined us. It's my first one here on this channel. I did a little bit of a test one a while ago. I had one person. I'm very grateful for that one person that joined us, but it kind of lasted a couple of minutes. I wasn't prepared for that one. So I'm hoping to do a few more in the future. And it's always nice to have you guys here alongside. I know a lot of you can watch them, watch a replay of the live stream, and that's great too. That's why I prefer doing live streams on YouTube. But I'm considering doing a few more of them. So I'd love to know if you have a preference for a certain day of the week or a certain time of the day, because I know we're stretched across so many different areas and it's hard because during the day we've got to go to work or have other obligations and things. So leave me a comment, let me know what works best for you, and I'll see what I can do. I'm going to end today's time lapse with background music. No, I'm not monetized. Oh, brilliant. Okay, I'm going to end this live here. My camera battery light is flashing, which means it could potentially die any minute now. Thank you so much to every single one of you. It was really fun. I'll try planning another one pretty soon. I'm thinking in a few weeks I'll do one during the morning hours because I know few folks that are in the US and all of that would be able to catch those ones there. But again, happy to hear your thoughts on days of the week and times of the day that you'd like to join in on a live stream. Thank you so much again, guys. I will catch you in the comments. Feel free to comment. Let me know whether you enjoyed this kind of a live stream session, a little chatty sort of catch up. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thanks for joining. Bye bye. Take care. Good night. Yeah, you guys stay warm too.